Kansas, gateway to Oz. Under the rainbow, this is where it was. Hollyhocks and red ripe tomatoes, hand-churned homemade ice cream. Let me tell you, Kansas is more than tornadoes. It's the best part of Dorothy's dream.
Today on Around Kansas, join us for a story about Linda Brown and her extraordinary impact on the world. And join us for a story about an interesting-looking animal called the kangaroo rat. Next, we'll have a poem from Ron Wilson, and we'll end with a look at journalist and author David Dary. Stay with us. Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life. Well, good morning. It's Wednesday. I'm Frank, and this is Around Kansas. And of course, we're in the Wren studio because on Wednesdays in the morning when we're doing this, I am actually on the air at Wren Internet Radio playing the oldies from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So tune in. We're at wrendigitalmedia.com. Anyway, guys, can anyone believe that it's been so cold for so long, clear into April? Well, gosh. Back in 1816, I looked it up. That was the year with no summer. Now, what happened is there was a volcano that erupted, Tambora, and it sent ash all around the world. And believe it or not, there was no summer. There was snow most of the year. And in fact, in the northern hemisphere, many people died of starvation because simply crops wouldn't grow. So 1816 was the year of no summer. Well, of course, that hasn't happened now. This has just been an unusual weather pattern because eastern Kansas has been very, very cold and western Kansas has been pretty close to temperate. So anyway, in Kansas, that's what we do, is we sit around and gripe about the weather. Around Kansas, of course, is a show about people, places, and things that make Kansas a great place to live, work, play, and come visit. Okay. Now, also, one of the things, because of the weather that got delayed this year, was tulip time. That's right. The tulip said, not coming out yet. So actually, tulip time got delayed, actually, to this week. So tulips will be blooming in Ward Mead Park, and of course at Hensley Gardens at Lake Shawnee in Topeka, and at Gage Park. It's really a sight to see. And as the weather warms up, the tulips will be in full bloom at last. But it's really been something, because I know I have tulips at home, and they've come up, but they sure aren't opening yet. So an unusual year. Of course, we also know that here in about 2 months, we're going to be griping about the heat. It's like, it's 95 degrees. When's it going to cool off? But anyway, as we know, that's Kansas. We have some great stories today. Of course, Deb is out in western Kansas, and she sends stories in about some really great places. So today we're going to have stories about, some animals and some people. And so anyway, you need to stick around and see what Deb has to report on. I'm Frank, and we'll see you later. Tarwater Farm and Home has been family owned and operated since its beginning in 1978. What you need for farm and agriculture, lawn and garden, clothing and footwear, and so much more. You'll be surprised at what you'll find in this huge store. They have what you need and lots of it. So come take a look. You'll discover that customer service is first and foremost. Always has been with the Tarwaters. Tarwater Farm and Home, 4107 North Topeka Boulevard.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Fort Wallace was the fightingest fort in the West. Fossils, Indians, soldiers, scouts, wagons, trails, pioneers, stories. Discover the story of Fort Wallace and the people who served here, the people who fought here, the people who settled here. Wallace County, where the past is present.
The new Better Horses Network is worldwide. Presented by Lucas Oil. Featuring worldwide radio and TV with iconic hosts like Al Dunning, Sharon Camarillo, Ernie Rodina, Lindy Birch, and Craig Cameron. With American Cowboy, Horse and Rider, Brushy Creek, Cavenders, and Ride TV. Worldwide radio and TV. The all-new Better Horses Network.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Welcome to Kansas, gateway to...
A little girl who wanted to go to school with her neighboring playmates. That's who Linda Brown was. When she passed away, March 25th, the world mourned. News of her passing was reported in New York and London and in her hometown of Topeka. As the oldest child of Oliver and Leola Brown, Linda became the focal point for the plaintiffs in the landmark Supreme Court case Brown v. Topeka Board of Education. Linda traveled the country with other family members lecturing about the history of this significant civil rights milestone. She, along with her family and others involved in the cases consolidated under Brown, were guests at the White House during the Clinton and Obama administrations. She was involved as program associate with the Brown Foundation, where she assisted with the establishment of 4 libraries for preschool children. Linda graduated from Central High School in Springfield, Missouri, and received certification in early childhood education from Kansas State University. As reported in the Topeka Capital Journal, she was preceded in death by her husband, William Thompson. She is survived by her mother, Leola Brown Montgomery, and by her children, Charles and Kimberly, 3 grandsons and 3 step-grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren, as well as a host of nieces and nephews. Her siblings, Terry Brown Tyler and Cheryl Brown Henderson, also survive. Linda was my neighbor many years ago in Topeka, and we passed, as neighbors do, headed in and out on daily errands. I often looked toward her doorway, thinking how ordinary it was, just like every other doorway on the block. I thought how someone looking on us unaware would never guess that this quiet lady, caring for her family, going back and forth to work and to church, this ordinary woman who had been an ordinary girl, had left an extraordinary impact on the world. Rest in peace and Godspeed, Linda. Well done.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Heinen Brothers, a 4th-generation Northeast Kansas farm family, knows how tough farming can be. Farmers helping farmers. Heinen Brothers Ag, selling and servicing crop protection products, fertilizer, anhydrous ammonia, cover crops, quality aerial and ground application. Call today to learn about our extended term financing program. 800-760-4964. HeinenBrothersAg.com.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Earlier in my life, I rode bucking horses in rodeos, and my shoulders took such a beating, and that was probably the reason for having several previous surgeries on both shoulders. About a year ago, I decided that I didn't want to have another surgery, and so I contacted Kansas Regenerative Medicine, took their treatment process. It was relatively pain-free. Now, After 8 months, my shoulders have healed to the point where I think I'm probably 90 to 95% of normal. It takes a couple of months to start to see results and feel real progress. That continued to increase gradually until now at approximately 8 months. And I'm extremely pleased. I've got full range of motion. I can lift weights, I can throw, I can do a lot of things that I couldn't do without a lot of pain previously. So I'm tickled to death with the results, and I'd recommend this process to anyone.
Buffalo Bill Cody earned his legendary title in Oakley. Bring the family and come celebrate Oakley's pioneering history and unique geography at two sites, the Buffalo Bill Cultural Center and the Fick Fossil Museum. Cody's statue marks his achievements and welcomes visitors to the Cultural Center. The Fick Fossil Museum houses world-class fossils and artifacts. You'll find Oakley at the hub of U.S. Highways 83 and 40 and I-70. Stop for the legend. Stay for the day. Discover Oakley. This segment brought to you by the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center in Oakley.
Called kangaroo rats, well, because they look like little kangaroos hopping across the road in your headlights. Yes, they hop. They can, in fact, hop a distance of 6 feet, 9 feet on a good day. This remarkable rodent can even change direction mid-hop. They are bipedal, meaning they use 2 feet instead of all 4. They are four-toed little beasts with big hind legs, small front legs, and relatively large heads. The tails of kangaroo rats are longer than both their bodies and their heads. Another notable feature of kangaroo rats are their fur-lined cheek pouches, which are used for storing food. Their coloration varies from cinnamon buff to dark gray depending on the species. The Ord kangaroo rat, found in the western half of Kansas, is cinnamon buff. They are rarely seen during the day, burrowing in sandy soil till nightfall, when they appear to be food for nearly every other creature on the plains. Coyotes, foxes, badgers, weasels, owls, and every slithering snake imaginable feast on the little fellers. Since they primarily feed on seeds, they gather as many as they can and stuff them into their little pouches. Thus, they spend their time outside the burrow gathering and hoarding and wait till they get back to the nest to begin digesting their haul. They do not need much water, instead breaking down seeds with their metabolism, making them ideal survivors in the arid landscapes of the high plains. They can also conserve water by lowering their metabolic rate, which reduces loss of water through their skin and respiratory system. Another fascinating feature of these little guys is their complex burrow system. The burrows have separate chambers for specific purposes like sleeping, living, and food storage. The spacing of the burrows depends on the number of kangaroo rats and the abundance of food. Kangaroo rats also live in colonies that range from 6 to several hundred dens. The burrow of a kangaroo rat is important in providing protection from the harsh desert environment. To maintain a constant temperature and relative humidity in their burrows, kangaroo rats plug the entrances with soil during the day. When the outside temperature is too hot, a kangaroo rat stays in its cool, humid burrow and leaves it only at night. To reduce loss of moisture through respiration when sleeping, a kangaroo rat buries its nose in its fur to accumulate a small pocket of moist air. The next time you see the buff-colored little rodent crossing the road, you might take a moment to marvel at what an interesting little creature he is. Welcome to Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in Oakley, Kansas on I-70 at exit 76. I-70, after all, is America's Main Street, and we're right here on Main Street for you. Now that I'm an Oakley resident, I still come in almost every day, and I sit and listen to the conversations of the people around me. You know, the guys who are talking about the big elk they just bagged, or the folks who are taking their kid to college for the first time. People just traveling up and down the highway. Real people, just like you and me. And they find just what I find here, real people to serve them. There's history, there's scenery. We hope you'll stop and see us soon. Welcome to Oakley.
Hi, I'm Randy.
And I'm Paul from PFI.
We would like to personally invite you to stop by PFI, home of Boot Daddies.
PFI is America's Western store, covering over 50,000 square feet.
Over 25,000 boots.
Visit Saddle City with the largest selection of saddles and tack anywhere.
A huge selection of hats at Big Spur Hat Company in PFI Town.
And choose from the best brands of clothing and accessories for the entire family.
PFI, located on Highway 65 at the Battlefield exit in Springfield. And I'm not kidding.
Welcome to the Jerry Thomas Gallery and Collection, where we showcase my renowned frontier military and Native American artifacts. Behind me you see a touch of fall. We put together not only the beauty of Micah Highwalking, who is the first graduate of West Point of the Northern Cheyenne people and a dear friend, but also a Hudson's Bay blanket that I have here in the gallery. The unique opportunity that I was able to have was we unveiled this painting and surprised Micah at Custer Battlefield, a true honor.
My name is Bill Meredith, and I farm about 7,000 acres. We raise about 150 head of longhorn cattle. It was real frustrating for me to not be able to have my hands on it. When I'd come down in the morning, almost cry because my back was hurting so bad and my memory was so bad, and had been to Mayo's clinic feeling like it was nothing was happening as fast as I'd like to see it happen. My land guy come and pulled up beside me and he asked me how I was doing. I told him I wasn't doing worth a darn. He was telling me about this treatment they were doing down there in Manhattan. Anyway, we come up here and got this treatment, put some in my shoulders because I couldn't bend my head like this. I finally started getting my memory back, and I'm able to do about everything I was doing before, maybe more. I went outside and raised my hand and praised the Lord, you know.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Soybean Commission. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
I'm proud to say that my daughter is a veterinary student at Kansas State University, and as a result, I've been able to learn some things too. This is a term she shared with me. The poem is entitled Zoonotic. Us boys were working cattle one day in early spring. Our veterinarian watched carefully, checking everything. Our vet is a terrific guy for all these operations. He was preg checking cows and giving vaccinations. We moved in a bunch of cows at the boss's direction when the boss spoke up and said, "Hey doc, I've got a question. What is zoonotic?" he said. I saw that word while reading about possible diseases in a herd. Well, doc replied, it's something we're not often seeing. It's a disease that transfers from livestock to a human being. We watch this very carefully with diagnosis or a blood sample in case a germ jumps from monkey to a human, for example. Doc continued to explain as we got the cattle headed till we had just one cow left, but it was the cow I dreaded. This old cow was ornery, had a mean streak a mile wide. She was tossing and a-kicking, all snorty and wild-eyed. Young Billy tried to head her in, but as he got in close, she turned her head and kicked him right into a fence post. The other cowboys pushed her in and got her in the chute, while Billy cussed that angry cow and kind of nursed his wound. Old Doc gave him some vet wrap for where he broke the skin. That tickled our old boss, and he got a little grin. He said, "Doc, you're an expert on disease and antibiotics. Would young Billy's ailment be considered zoonotic?" Doc said, "Well, in one sense, as anybody sees, young Billy might be called a victim of mad cow disease." That'd be true.
Welcome to our Bar B, 8,000 plus square feet Western store with something for everyone in the family. We have boots, belts, hats, jeans, anything you could want to outfit you and your horse. Come visit our line of saddles. We have 400 plus new and used saddles in stock. We offer tack, grooming supplies, head stalls, breast collars, you name it, we've got it for you and your horse. That's our Bar B, 1 mile east of Highway 4 on Northeast 39th. Our Bar B, where Western is a way of life.
I had this horse. It was a good horse, except when the wind was blowing above 30 miles an hour. Wind was blowing about 35, 40, and I saddled him up, rode him out to the end of the lane, and I thought, well, he's doing pretty good. And about 6 jumps later, I was laying on the ground and thinking, boy, my shoulder sure hurt. I kept waiting, and it didn't get better, and so I went to orthopedic surgeon, and that showed that I had torn rotator cuff. And said, well, we'll have to do surgery. I thought, I farm and ranch by myself. This is not going to work out very well. I'd been sleeping in my recliner for about 2.5 years because it hurt too much to sleep in bed on my side. I'd heard about Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center on the radio. Gotten down there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by 11:30 the procedure was all over. They just took some fat out of my side here and spun that down for about 45 minutes and then injected it in my shoulders, and I was on my way. It's something you don't hear about, but I thought it was worth a try, and I'm really pleased. It's really worked out well for me.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but yet we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, and we're glad to answer it and work with you.
Been brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
David Dary, a respected journalist and prolific author, died in March following a brief illness. He was 83. A Manhattan native, Dave was recruited to Norman, Oklahoma in 1989 to lead the H.H. Herbert School of Journalism and Mass Communication. He previously served as a faculty member and administrator for 20 years at the University of Kansas William Allen White School of Journalism and Mass Communication. Upon his arrival at OU, Dave worked tirelessly to get the school re-accredited and back in the graces of the state's newspaper publishers. He approached Edward L. Gaylord in the early 1990s, requesting consideration for a $22 million gift to build a new journalism building and underwrite faculty positions and scholarships. Later, with the help of the university's new president, David Boren, the gift became reality. David Dary was multi-talented, Boren said. Not only was he an outstanding teacher, but he was also a gifted writer and historian of the American West. He was an inspiration for countless students. At Kansas, Dave began writing newspaper articles on Kansas history. That led to a 21-book publishing career. 4 books dealt with journalism, and the remainder focused on the historical aspects of the American West, including true tales of old-time Kansas. Among his awards were 2 Wrangler Awards from the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum, 2 Spur Awards, and the Owen Wister Lifetime Achievement Award from the Western Writers of America. Prior to his teaching and academic career, Dave worked in radio and television news, first in Kansas and Texas, before joining CBS News in Washington. He covered the last months of the Eisenhower and then the Kennedy administrations. He introduced President Kennedy on CBS for the president's Cuban Missile Crisis speech, and later overflew Soviet ships carrying missiles outbound from Cuba. In 1963, Dave was recruited by rival NBC News to manage its local news in Washington, D.C. He returned to Kansas in the late 1960s to help build a new NBC television station in Topeka before joining the KU faculty. He retired in 2000 as Professor Emeritus and returned to writing. He is survived by his wife of 62 years, Sue, and their 4 daughters, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. His former co-worker, William Redland, said, "Dave Dary was a Kansan of the best kind, through and through."
Let me tell you, Kansas is more than...
Well, some interesting stuff today. Thanks, Deb. And we, of course, see her each week here. She's in western Kansas. I'm here in eastern Kansas. But Michael puts it all together for us here on Around Kansas on Wednesdays. And, of course, you can also see us online at aroundkansas.com. So, anyway, Hope the weather stays warm. Hope you get to see the tulips at tulip time in Topeka and, of course, other places around the state. But it's absolutely glorious here in the capital city of Kansas. So anyway, I'm Frank, and I'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
We're the best